What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a good old look at the last Digitama that have come around in Ultimate Power. You see, we do now have a look at the cards from Ultimate Power. There are, frankly, 3 Digitama we've not yet talked about, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'd like to fix it. So we'll start off with the yellow Digitama, Nyaromon. Now it's a level 2, so like every Digitama, all we've got here is one inheritable skill, no more. And what we see is, on your opponent's turn, if this Digimon is rested, all of your security Digimon gain 1000 DP. This is weird. This is kind of awesome though. It's not like we've seen on a lot of the other Digitama. Most of the time, most of the Digitama, there are exceptions, but most of the Digitama, what we tend to see are skills that come in giving extra power on your turn. So if we were to go over to the first expansion, there were 2 yellow Digitama. We had Nyaromon that gave you an extra 2000 power if your security was 6 or more, or Pagumon that let you draw 1 if your security was 5 or more. So only one that gave extra power, but the same kind of deal. We could flick back to the starter decks where there was the other yellow Digitama, and we had ourselves a bit of the old Pagumon, and when your opponent's Digimon was destroyed because its DP was lowered to 0, you got an extra 1000 power for the turn. But it's all a your turn kind of thing. What this does is it basically just builds up your security Digimon's power, making it far more likely that your opponent attacking you will be taken out by your security Digimon. And I'd be remiss at this stage if I didn't point out the fairly obvious combo with the TK Takaishi that came around in the starter deck. This is the one whereby all your security Digimon gain an extra 2000 power on your opponent's turn. So, yeah. That's, I mean, if you combine all of this together, you've got a really, really strong set of security Digimon, such that if your opponent tries attacking you, it's just not gonna go very well for them. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? They'll still be able to take out that security. They'll still get a security card gone, but the difference is that they will lose a Digimon in the process. Still very, very cool. And it really depends what you're going for here. If you're trying to build up your own power to get bigger, badder Digimon, clearly Nyaromon is not the way to go. But if instead you're trying to slow your opponent down, or trying to make sure that your opponent's big cards go away, clearly this is going to be the way to go. I don't know how much I can recommend this in a vacuum, because it really is a case of it depends so heavily on the deck, and that's a decision you're going to be able to make better than I. Now, we hadn't seen any purple Digitama yet. We knew there had to be some coming, and there are, starting off with Pagumon. Now, Pagumon has an inheritable skill. When you attack, you discard the top card of your deck, which instantly reminds me of Impmon. Impmon's got that skill whereby when it is destroyed, you discard the top 3 cards of your deck. Now, I've been on record several times as saying here, I am not generally a fan of random discarding. I don't love it. I don't want to have random discarding. Now, if I can choose the card I discard from my deck, that is a whole nother thing. But generally speaking, random discard that you don't get to choose, there's many things that can go wrong. If you're playing 3 level 6s and all of those level 6s end up in the trash, you can't play them. You can build a Diaboromon deck, but the fact of the matter is, if all your Diaboromon end up in the trash before you can play them, doesn't matter how many Diaboromon you're playing, they all end up gone. But of course, we've seen a bunch of purple cards that really do want to take advantage of the trash here. And that kind of changes things a lot. So, for instance, we could look at Pagumon. When you play it, you can play up to 2 level 4 or below purple Digimon from your trash without paying their cost. So, clearly here, you do the random discard, hope to hit a good level 3 or 4 Digimon, and then you can play it with Piedmon. We see a very similar thing with the Purple Metal Garurumon here, that when you attack, you can play a level 3 Purple Digimon from your trash without paying its cost. And there is the option card we looked at very recently here, Grizzly Wing, that lets you play a Purple Digimon from your trash without paying its cost. It's a 2 cost, so generally you're only saving like 1 memory, but that's not the point. You're still saving the memory, and you are recovering. Honestly, my biggest issue here is just the fact that we don't have much recovery. Like, I've just given you a bunch of examples in purple, and if you're discarding level 3 and 4 Digimon, brilliant. Because you can then play them again, and life is good. But I am not loving the chance of discarding your 5s, your 6s, the ones which are not going to be coming around as easily. That makes me genuinely nervous, ladies and gentlemen. So, quite frankly, you have been warned. And the other purple Digimon is Yaamon. And this is kind of similar, if I'm honest with you. On your turn, if you have 5 or more cards in your trash, this Digimon gets an extra 1,000 power. Now, when I say similar, what I mean is it revolves around your trash, as a lot of this purple stuff does. Now, the majority, not all as I've shown you, but the majority of Digitama we've seen so far do have some kind of, under these circumstances, you get extra power kind of requirement. So it's nice to have one from purple here. It's nice to have that option. The question is, it's kind of a weird one, right? Because one of my first responses to this is, hey, I can use Pagumon to get cards in my trash, and then Yaamon to give myself the extra power when I've got cards in my trash, but they're both level 2s. And you can play a 3-2 split. Remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen, you can have up to 5 Digitama total, but as with all cards, you can only have 4 of the same one. Remember, the same one refers to number, not name, so you can have as many Agumon as you like, as long as there are different numbers, and there are multiple different numbers of Agumon here. So the point I'm making, very simply, although in a roundabout way, is that I do like both of these, but I like them both in a, hey, I'm going to trash a bunch of cards from my deck kind of deck. And I don't know which one I want to go for. I mean, clearly, in terms of discarding, Impmon is better. I prefer Impmon, and I think you probably would too, right? Impmon's great. Discards 3 cards from the top of your deck. But the problem with Impmon is it always discards 3 cards from the top of your deck. So if you've got 3 cards left in your deck and Impmon gets destroyed, you go down to 0 cards in your deck, and at the beginning of your next turn, you have no cards in your hand. You deck out. Bad news bears, ladies and gentlemen. Bad news bears. But having said that, it's going to get you there in the early game, and if I'm playing Impmon to just get a whole bunch of cards in my trash, then I'm probably not feeling like I want Pagumon because I'm getting enough cards in my trash. I'm probably thinking like I want Yaamon to give myself that extra 1,000 power because I feel confident those cards are going into my trash fast enough anyway. It is a fascinating one here. I'm still incredibly nervous at the fact that we just don't have recovery for level 5s and 6s. 3s and 4s have got all those Digimon I showed you previously, but we don't for 5s and 6s. And that kind of terrifies me, if I'm honest with you. I'm not loving it, but I am loving the power boost. I mean, generally speaking, the kind of purple deck I'm looking at, where you're using Impmon for the random trashing, and you're trashing cards anyway, your option cards, your Digimon that are going away, etc., I'm feeling fairly confident I'm getting the cards in the trash fast enough, so I'm probably just going to be happy going along with Yaamon and getting the power boost. But then again, maybe I test a few games. And after testing a few games, I find that I'm not actually trashing cards fast enough. I want to accelerate the rate at which I'm trashing cards from my deck, in which case I'm going to want to go back to Pagumon. Like so many of these, it really is going to depend on the deck you're playing and the testing you do, which I know is a cop-out answer, right? I completely understand it's a cop-out, but I'm afraid that's where we end up with it. Now, I do need to point out quickly the Beezlemon we looked at the other day. That says if you've got 10 or more cards in your trash, you may evolve into Impmon. So straight from Impmon into Beezlemon, from a 3 to a 6, just playing the form memory you would usually pay. In a Beezlemon deck, the fact that you need 10 cards in the trash so quickly would push me towards a Digitama that could trash those cards just that little bit faster. Either way, you're probably playing from your trash, and you've got a couple of really nice options. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff. I'd like it if you did. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.